I'm Lauren Bishop. I organised DevMob 2010, which is an unconference event run by Catalysis. An unconference is, rather than a traditional conference where speakers give presentations and people listen and take notes, it's very much based on user-generated content. So we will have a couple of suggestions in advance from sponsors of the event as to what they want to talk about. We'll then decide the programme of the event on the morning, including those presentations or ideas for discussion, along with anything else that any of the attendees would like to talk about. It basically all goes into a big pool, and then we try and timetable the event on the day. Occasionally, of course, participants want to speak about things that either we haven't particularly prepared for or perhaps aren't exactly in line with the client's interests or the sponsor's interests. And in this case, we just have to let it happen. If we don't have a particular speaker to talk on a particular topic, we'll just position it as a roundtable discussion where one of the event coordinators will sit down and start facilitating discussion, or perhaps one of the attendees will be happy to do that. And then we just create a session where everyone discusses their ideas. Quite often it goes off topic, but everyone gets really engaged and really passionate about whatever it is they're interested in, which is great. We found that some of the sponsored content that we've had at DevMob has been some of the most popular sessions that we've run. For example, we ran a lot of sessions, or a couple of sessions on Moblin, the mobile Linux platform, which is part of a project, an open source project by Intel. We found not only was there plenty of demand for two sessions, one an overview session and one a technical session on Moblin itself, but we also had to run a spillover Q&A session because people were so interested in hearing more about it. So we found that the sponsors' content has gone down really, really well. The event itself was primarily promoted through social media. We set up a social network which we invited people to join. We invited developers we were already in touch with to join the social network. We also fed into this social network through other social networks, the way we set up particular events pages. So, for example, LinkedIn, Facebook, we had groups and events posted on both of those sites, and they fed in from there. We also just did some good old direct marketing. So we rang up developers that we were aware of, that names we gathered through previous research, and also we marketed it to universities as well, because there's a lot of content here that was very useful for beginner developers or those just starting out looking to build their careers. So we went to all the universities within an hour's reach of the venue, promoted the event to them, and had a lot of student response, and also response from PhDs and other academics within the universities as well. From Intel's perspective, the event has, I think, changed the perception of a lot of developers towards Intel as a company. Intel's perceived as primarily a hardware company, when in fact it has one of the largest, I think the largest number of software developers of any single company. So to actually directly reach out to developers and have the opportunity to talk to them about their software issues and their development issues, it's had a really big impact. I think additionally for them, they've had an opportunity to explain parts of their business to developers that they don't often have a platform for explaining. Events such as DevMob are primarily suited to companies who want to get in touch with audiences who perhaps are not as susceptible to traditional marketing and PR outreach. So developers, software developers, are typical of that type of audience. They actually tend not to respond very well to marketing or they don't actually read a lot of the media, so PR outreach is quite difficult. Additionally, they tend to feed off their own community. So unless you already have an in into that community, if they're getting all of their new information from each other, there's not much scope to get in there. So these sorts of events are really important for any company that's trying to access a closed group, such as software developers, and have an influence over that group. For people that couldn't make it to DevMob, we had lots of registrations. We had registrations from people in Mexico, Canada, across Europe, the Middle East and India. A lot of these people couldn't attend the conference, but they were really keen to get hold of the information. So we've we are making that available through the social network that we set up. We've had plenty of blogging activity going on today, blogging that's engineered by us, but also independent third-party bloggers as well. We set up our own hashtag on Twitter so that people could follow minute by minute the updates from sessions and just get little tidbits and links through to interesting content. We're also planning, as I think most conferences do, to put as much material from the day in terms of presentations, notes. In some sessions, they produced big diagrams and charts, and lots of ideas came out of it. So we're hoping to put as much of that content as possible online on our social network, and then again feed that out through blogs, through Twitter, onto the Facebook and LinkedIn sites where we've mentioned the event, and also out into internet forums, in order to make sure that as many people as possible can benefit from the content that we've produced today. The best thing about DevMob has been the level of interaction that we've had from the developers, not just developers engaging with the content produced by the sponsors, by Intel, by Creative Assembly, the game developers, and by us, but also the content that they've just been sharing with each other. And it's been very spontaneous, and which makes it really interesting. There's no feeling of a dry conference with hours of presentations and slides and death by PowerPoint. The general energy and level of excitement has been fantastic.